Gates owns more land than all of the entire city of New York. Jeff Bezos' land is double the amount, clocking in at 420,000 acres. John Malone, the largest private landowner in America, owns 2.2 million acres all by himself, a landmass slightly smaller than the island of Puerto Rico. America is enormous, yet 100 of the richest and largest private landowners in America own 1.86% of all the land available in the United States, the majority of their land being forests, ranches, and farmland. So, why are the ultra-wealthy investing in farmland, and what impact will it have on the agricultural industry? In 2020, Bill Gates made headlines for becoming the largest private farmland owner in the US. He had accumulated more than 269,000 acres of farmland across 18 states in less than a decade, shielding his purchase by buying up land through shell companies. Why? It's a good economic investment. Those who are against the idea worry that new farmers can't compete with the likes of Bill Gates when it comes to acquiring land.
People are swooping in that don't even live in this community and land grabbing. They can live in California and be able to purchase property here in our city just like that. But somebody that lives here, that works here, that cuts the grass next door because that lot hasn't been cut in a year, that picks up the trash on the street, they attempt to purchase property and they have to go through hoops and loops and hoops.
In some areas, the engagement of private landowners has also led to soaring housing prices and cost of living.
When you look at these rural communities, there's definitely winners and losers in terms of various parts of the country. When you get into the Mississippi Delta, for instance, where they've lost a lot of the tobacco industry or the cotton industry has evolved through the years, you've seen some of these towns really struggle and they've lost their industry, and that's created a lot of poverty in some areas of agriculture.
The jury is out on whether private landowners are a force for good or bad for agriculture. But more farmland is expected to make its way to the market in the future.
When you look at the demographics around who owns land, it's impractical to think that farmers are going to buy every acre that transitions over the next 20 years. We think in some form or fashion, about 50% of the farmland in the U.S. will turn over the next 25 years.
Welcome back to Seed Time and Harvest. One of our sisters asked us to come to our house and take a look at her garden because it wasn't doing too well. And so we're here to diagnose this garden. From the looks of this garden, the flowers are doing well. You can see a lot of things. The herbs are trying to come up, but a lot of the things in the garden are struggling. And so we're going to dig in and see what's going on. The first thing to find out whether there is a problem with the garden is to start by looking at the soil. So let's go on in and take a closer look. The weeds are thriving, and weeds, of course, they will thrive in any type of soil. But for you to have healthy plants, as you can see, this looks like it was a cabbage that was trying to come up. It's not healthy because the soil is too tight, and it looks like it's very depleted. It's lacking moisture, and what she perhaps needs to do is to come in and add in a lot of peat moss to loosen up this soil and compost. So we're gonna let her know what we think about her soil. Behind me is the reason why her soil is so depleted. The pine needles, wherever the roots go, they suck the life out of the soil. They take all the nutrients out, and she really doesn't have a lot of backyard space. So for her to plant here, she's gonna have to work really hard to make sure that she's consistently adding nutrients to the soil, watering the soil, so that she can have a healthy environment for her plants to grow. Another thing, you can tell that the pine needles are falling a lot into the garden. She's actually going to get ready to start a fall garden. And so the pine needles are lumping up in the garden. With these type of mulch, it takes a long time to decompose. So pine needles is not the best thing to turn into your soil, because as they decompose, they need nitrogen to break down, and they are going to rob the soil of nitrogen. So for her, when she's going to start her fall garden, we're going to recommend that she pull back the pine needles, add the compost, add the peat moss, and then after she plants, she can put the pine needles on top as a form of mulch. When you have a garden, especially a raised bed garden, rocks are some things that should never be in your garden. Now, if you're planting trees, these are excellent for putting way in the bottom of the hole that you're gonna plant your trees. But don't put rocks in your garden, okay? It makes it very difficult to grow. And if you have items that you're planting that are root crops, like carrots, they don't need any obstruction in terms of root growth. So rocks should never be in your garden. We used to call what we do is, what we say is run boat, which is you go in the woods and you find something and you cook it and you eat it in the woods. Now, of course, in the woods, you don't have plates. So we would quail this. Quail it means you would put it over warm heat and it will make it a little harder. And you can use this to make a plate. Working without tools is not easy. So we're gonna get some tools, but until then, we'll see you next time on Seed Time and Harvest. Happy planting!